Hey there, welcome to Chris's Texas Sports Podcast. I'm Chris, by the way. This podcast has gotten 8 downloads since I started it. People have downloaded it from Texas, Florida, and Italy. Anyway, the Houston Astros won the American League West last night. They beat the Seattle Mariners 4-3 to clinch. It's their fourth straight division title and their seventh over the past 8 years. And it's also their first division title overall. They showed division titles the Astros have won going back to 1980. When I started going to the games in 1978, they were already building towards the 1980 championship. As I said, that's their seventh division title over the past 8 years as an American League team. They won sixth in 50 years as a National League team. Now on to Texans news. The Texans were trailing 14-0 in the second quarter in the game against the Vikings on Sunday, and were trying desperately to put points on the board before halftime so they could get back in the game. The drive started well with a 19-yard reception by Stephon Diggs and a 13-yard catch and run by Dare Ogabawale for another first down. But facing a manageable 3rd and 4, the Texans got flagged for a false start, and then another one, and a third, and then a fourth stray penalty. This one for legal formation. It was declined by the Vikings to force one of three punts in a row. Sure, the Vikings played well, but as Texans head coach D'Amico Ryans put it, the Texans helped the Vikings a lot in the 34-7 win. The Texans had 11 penalties after committing 12 in week 2, which is something they need to work on, obviously. Now to the Cowboys, they're on edge after consecutive home losses with large deficits. Quarterback Dak Prescott said the Dallas Cowboys need to be more professional and focused, while cornerback Jordan Lewis sprinkled in a few expletives or cuss words, trying to explain his belief that the team was falling woefully short with attention to detail. This was their third straight home loss, with a 3-touchdown deficit, which has the defending NFC's champions on edge as they have a short week before their first game against the Giants tomorrow night, which will be on Prime, streaming on Prime. Now the Giants come into the game with a record of 1-2. They lost to the Vikings in week 1, then lost to the Commanders in week 2, before they beat the Browns this past Sunday. They're coached by Brian Dable. Now, Jerry Jones told 105.3 The Fan in Dallas that it's fair for the fans to blame him for the Cowboys' problems. There was a poll taken by Channel 8 in Dallas about who was the biggest problem for the Cowboys, and the overwhelming number of fans said it was Jerry Jones. He also said he likes where they are at all positions. He also said they couldn't afford to sign running back Derrick Henry, who rushed 461 yards for the Ravens in the Ravens' 28-25 win over the Cowboys on Sunday. And edge rusher DeMarcus Lawrence said he's frustrated with losing, and he says the team is playing Little League football. Polls in San Antonio showed limited support for a new ballpark for the San Antonio Missions minor league team, and also a new arena for the San Antonio Spurs. Okay. Texas wide receiver Jonte Cook is crediting maturity for a strong start in year 2. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers practiced on Monday, but he's still questionable to play with an abdominal strain in the number one Longhorns take on Mississippi State in their SEC debut on Saturday. Viewers didn't play last Saturday in the Longhorns' 51-3 over Louisiana Monroe. Backup Arch Manning got the start. Manning threw 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in getting his first career victory as a starter. If Ewers isn't able to play against Mississippi State, then it will be Manning leading the Longhorns into the program's first ever game in the SEC. Ewers got hurt in the first half of Texas' win over UTSA. He was on the sideline with the Longhorns last Saturday, but wasn't in uniform. He got hurt on a long pass and that was not caused by contact, Coach Steve Sarkisian said. SMU will host Florida State on Saturday night. It will be at 7 o'clock on the ACC network. It's the Mustangs' first ACC game. The Dallas Stars beat the Colorado Avalanche 3-2 to start the NHL preseason. The Texas defense has given up its fewest points since 1977. 1989 Heisman Trophy winner and current Houston Texans broadcaster Andre Ware and former Houston Comets head coach Van Chancellor, who led the Comets to the first 4 WNBA titles, are going into the Houston Sports Hall of Fame. Heard about that on the A-Team on Space City Home Network. The Rockets moved into their new practice facility. Bleacher Report had a story saying that Rockets owner Tillman Fertitta says he's expecting a great year for the Rockets this season. The Houston Chronicle reported that Fertitta, who has been trying to get an NHL team for Houston, isn't sure that's going to happen. He said something about expansion fees. Of course, there's always a relocation. And more Rockets news. SI said the Rockets should consider trading guard Jalen Green because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Rangers' Josh Young season's over with, and UTSA has turned down an offer to join the Pac-12 and has decided to stay in the AAC. All right, coming up, some notes I wrote down as I watched a game on YouTube between the Houston Oilers and the Oakland Raiders from 1978. All right, now here's tell you about a game I watched on YouTube. It was between the Houston Oilers and the Oakland Raiders. It was played on October 8th, 1978, at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum in Oakland. It was shown on NBC. Kurt Gowdy on the play-by-play and John Brody, former quarterback for the 49ers, on color. I didn't watch the game because I didn't start watching football until the following season. The Oilers were 3-2 coming into the game. They had wins over the Chiefs, 49ers, and Browns, and they had lost to the Falcons and the Rams. The Raiders were also 3-2. They had wins over the Chargers, Packers, and Bears, but had lost to the Broncos and the Patriots. I saw John Madden on the Raiders sideline. I was 8 going on 9 in the 3rd grade. We lived in the Spring Branch suburb of Houston. Our school district they had an arrangement with the youth football organization where they put the teams together by where the kids went to school, so the kids played for the school that or represented the schools they went to. The school I went to was called Edgewood, and they called their team the Panthers. That's when Ken Stabler, Dave Casper, Cliff Branch, Jack Tatum, Mark Van Egan, Ray Guy, and others played for the Raiders. Both first possessions for each team ended on punts. Kurt Gowdy talked about Earl Campbell's nickname, the Tyler Rose. The Oilers got on the board first on a field goal by Tony Fritsch. They made it Oilers 3, Raiders nothing. They showed 2 commercials on there. One was for Norelco, the other was a recruiting commercial for the U.S. Navy, where their slogan was, "It's not just a job, it's an adventure." They also showed a promo for the 1978 World Series between the Yankees and the Dodgers. It was the first World Series I ever watched. It was also a rematch of the 1977 World Series that was won in 6 games by the Yankees. The Yankees also repeated 1978 in 6 games. The Raiders took the lead on a touchdown run by running back Arthur Washington. They made the score Raiders 7, Oilers 3. Gowdy did a promo for a special I remember watching that was hosted by Bob Hope that it took a comical look at baseball up to that point. The Oilers intercepted a pass by Stabler in the end zone. Gowdy and Brody talked about how much Coach Bum Phillips was liked by his players. The Oilers took the lead on a touchdown pass from Pastorini to a wide receiver Mike Renfro. That made it Oilers 10, Raiders 7. Years after I moved from Houston to Rosebud, my 8th grade science teacher, who was also the head football coach at Rosebud Lot and athletic director, said he lived in Oakland in the 1960s before they moved back to Texas, he and his family. He said that his dad helped put the seats in at the Oakland Coliseum, whose future is up in the air right now as the Raiders have moved to Las Vegas, and the A's are going to Vegas in a few years, and the A's are playing their last games at the Coliseum this week, like they're playing the Rangers. They're going to play next year in 2026 in Sacramento. The first half ended on a sack of Ken Stabler by a future Hall of Famer Elvin Bethea. I later got a t-shirt with his picture on it. Oakland in the 1970s had two of the most colorful and controversial owners in sports, and Al Davis, who owned the Raiders, and Charlie Finley, who owned the A's during their World Series run in the mid-1970s. The Oilers scored again on a touchdown pass from Dan Pastorini to tight end Mike Barber. That made it Oilers 17, Raiders 7. They showed Tom Flores, who took over for Madden as the Raiders head coach, in the coach's box. The Raiders' Charlie Phillips recovered a fumble by Earl Campbell in the red zone and took it 96 yards for a touchdown. That made it Oilers 17, Raiders 14. I said while watching the Nolan Ryan fifth no-hitter that a man who was a friend of my mother's would take me and his son to the Astros games. He often described Earl Campbell's style of running as running over the defense. I noticed that in this game, and that may have caused the fumble that ended up with the Raiders' touchdown. By the way, the officials are all wearing white caps. The game was recorded off of KGW TV in Portland. The score at the end of the third quarter was Oilers 17, Raiders 14. The Raiders went on to win the game 21-17. The Oilers went on to make the playoffs for the first time since the AFL-NFL merger. They beat the Patriots and the Dolphins before losing to the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. And they got a big welcome home celebration at the Astrodome when they came back. Well, that's it for today. I'll be back on Friday with a look at this week's football action. My name is Chris Carlisle. Be sure to hit the download button, leave a like and a review, follow or subscribe on where you be listening on. So besides Spreaker, it's on Spotify, iHeart, and Podchaser. I recorded this on the Spreaker Studio app. See ya.